The Vatican and the Australian Catholic Church have both denied knowledge of transfers of nearly $2 billion from the Vatican to the Church in Australia over a 6-year period starting in 2014. Now, the timing of these transfers is interesting. They began when Australian Cardinal George Pell started working at the Vatican as prefect for the Secretariat for the Economy. They continued even after Pell's return to Australia to face sexual abuse charges, which he was later acquitted of. Joining me to discuss the details of yet another example of financial irregularity at the Vatican and much more is Rome correspondent for the National Catholic Register, Edward Pentin. Ed, thanks for being here. The Australian bishops wrote to Pope Francis on Christmas Eve, confirming they had not received any of the funds that AUSTRAC, that's the Australian financial watchdog, discovered. How is it possible that the Australian bishops were not aware of these huge financial transactions from the Vatican? Where might the money have gone?
Well, this is the big question, and the Vatican is discussing this, is investigating this with the Australian authorities to really try to find out where this money came from, because they've had no record of it. The Australian bishops have no record of it. But there's several theories which is where this money could have come from, which one of them is that it could have come from what are called ciphered accounts, which have been held in APSA, which is the dicastery responsible for investments and real estate in the Vatican in the past. And it could be these ciphered accounts have been used by laypersons in Italy and elsewhere to basically use the Vatican, to sort of use the Vatican as a sort of offshore paradise, if you like, to transfer money which goes undetected. And so this money doesn't actually come from the Vatican, but it comes with the Vatican's name on it because of these accounts which are held within this dicastery. That's one theory, but there are others too. And also there's allegations of money laundering, of course, going on, and perhaps organized crime involvement.
Are you hearing anything about who may have been getting the money sent from Rome to Australia? I mean, is there any speculation even on, I read something about China. It could have even been Chinese money being moved through and washed through the Vatican.
Yes, I mean, that's a theory too, Raymond, but of course we don't know yet. As I say, it could quite conceivably be money laundering and organized crime. There's a strong presence of the Calabrian mafia in Australia, and there's strong links, I think, between them and the Calabrian mafia here, and that could well be one of the sources of this money. But we won't know this yet, and these investigations are continuing. Cardinal Pell, we contacted him, and he said that he had no knowledge of this, and that in fact he's looking into it as well. But also with APSA too. I spoke to Archbishop Galantino, who heads APSA, and he said that he has no knowledge of these funds either. He also said there are no more ciphered accounts in APSA. These apparently were closed. But whether there might be some lingering ones that he doesn't know about, we don't know. But he says he doesn't know any of these accounts.
Well, I want to play something for you. When I interviewed Cardinal Pell last month, he had this to say about money being sent from Rome, from the Vatican, to Australia. Watch.
There's plenty of smoke, but we don't know. We don't have proof, and you have to have proof before you can make specific claims. But I think it's highly likely that money went from the Vatican, highly likely, but just what was its purpose is not clear, except that it wasn't an official purpose linked to the official Australian Church.
Does this news support the allegations that some money could have possibly been used to adversely affect the trial of Cardinal Pell, Edward?
Well, that's a theory, Raymond. I mean, there's been no evidence of that at all, really. I mean, there's been sort of speculative evidence, but no real hard evidence that that's happened. But that is one possibility. But what does seem quite clear is that there are lay people around the Vatican. They're not officials. They're not priests, it seems, although some may have knowledge of it. But there are lots of lay people who seem to be sort of looting the Vatican's largesse, if you like, and that's causing a lot of concern that this is really what's going on. It was the same with the London property scandal as well. That there was these vulture-like people around the Vatican who seem to be taking this money out of it, but also using it, as I said earlier, as a kind of offshore paradise.
Well, the entire yearly budget of the Holy See is about 330 million euros. Yet the figure reported by the Australian financial watchdog is 4 times that. Your thought, the money that was moved, I mean, it's in the billions. Your thoughts, and I mean, beyond the Vatican being used to launder money, it seems to me this money is coming from another source. It didn't come from the Vatican itself.
Yes, and as I said earlier, it's all speculation of where that could have come from. But one of the possibilities is that it's drug money, that it's obviously dirty money, or quite clearly could be, and that those are the various possibilities. And the fact that the Vatican didn't know about it, another reason why the Vatican doesn't know about it is because they've never had a proper external or internal audit. So they don't really know what money is going around the Vatican, whether it's to do with their various entities, hospitals, congregations, or whatever. There's not a real centralized authority to find out where this money is going. And in fact, that was Cardinal Pell's main reforms, was to centralize this. And if that had been done early on, then people I've spoken to who are experts in this say that all these kind of transfers would have been spotted and frustrated earlier.
Yeah, and he was shut down very quickly. Price Waterhouse was sent packing before they even arrived. Over the holidays, Pope Francis stripped the financial powers of the Secretary of State. All financial holdings and real estate assets will now be managed by another office at the Vatican beginning next month. Will this help create financial transparency?
Yes, I think it will. And I think this is as I said earlier, one of the reforms that Cardinal Pell was hoping for as well, all part of this centralization of the Vatican's finances to really increase transparency and accountability among people in the Vatican and those who handle the finances. I think in the Secretariat of State, they were very much an autonomous congregation. And this caused a lot of problems, including the London property deal scandal that I talked to also earlier about. And this is the great hope is that this reduction in autonomy between these different dicasteries will increase that accountability. And there are various other aspects to this motu proprio too, which I think also increase the sort of supervision and control as well, and really strip away the Secretariat of State of having really any kind of financial responsibilities at all beyond personnel issues. And so that again will, I think the hope is that it will really increase and improve the financial health of the Vatican.
Ed, this week you wrote a piece about emails emanating from top Vatican officials. These were leaked to the Register, and they date from 2015, from within the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. They largely concern climate change. What do those emails reveal? And just to remind the audience, in 2015, that was the year Laudato Si, the Pope's encyclical on the environment, was published. What did the emails tell us? What do they reveal?
Yes, well, it really revolves, Raymond, about this French scientist who was a climate change skeptic. He wasn't complete a skeptic, but he dissented from the IPCC, the United Nations International Panel on Climate Change, and he wanted to come to the Vatican to this major summit, which had the Secretary General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, and 5 Nobel laureates attending, and he wanted to really come and share his views, perhaps just to change the Pope's views on this, so they doesn't just get one side. And the emails show that when the Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy for Sciences found out about his invitation, he was invited by Cardinal Turkson, he became very alarmed, and various other members of the Academy also became quite concerned about it, and really wanted to get him disinvited, which they managed to do just a few days before the conference. And again, but what it showed and what it reminds, I think, people is that there was a great, I think, a shutting down really of any kind of debate at that conference, of any kind of dissent from the science of climate change that is man-made. And what these emails reveal again is really that lack of debate, and that's, as I say, that shutting down of any kind of discussion. You may remember at that conference two critics of climate change science, Lord Monckton and Mark Morano, were both ejected from the conference when the organizers found out who they were, just because they had a different view on the science of climate change, one which didn't match the one that they wanted to follow. But this is really just the beginning of a much closer collaboration with the UN on this issue and on the UN agenda in general. And it was quite interesting to see all these emails again.
Well, I find it curious, and we're seeing this evolve in the message coming from parts of the church and officialdom in the church. There is no question, and can't be any question at all, of things that are up for debate in society, like climate change, environmental concerns, and the best way to deal with those, poverty. There must be only one solution and none others can be entertained. It is practically a dogmatic approach to these secular issues, while at the same time, dogma is treated as if it's up for debate. And anyone who dares to raise objection in either of those realms is written off as, some horrible monster or enemy of the papacy or something, when nothing could be further than the truth. It's simply an informational point. And information, the flow of conversation, information, and data, we should cherish, no matter who's saying it. That's part of dialogue. But it seems to me dialogue has become an endangered species of late.
Yes, I mean, it seems to be anyone who goes against the sort of what I call the sort of secular orthodoxy, it gets shut down. And if you don't follow the sort of secular mores and all of that they stand for, then you're not a part of the debate. You're not part of the team, and you're not included in the discussions. And that was clear, very clear in these emails. And just how alarmed they were, and how they thought it was really quite ridiculous to have anyone of opposing views included in the meeting.
No, it's troubling. It's troubling and it's sad. And the dictatorship of relativism that Benedict warned so long ago about, we have discovered it for ourselves. Edward Pentin, we will leave it there. We'll check in with you in the coming days. Happy New Year. The Next Pope, The Leading Cardinal Candidates by Edward Pentin, is available at bookstores everywhere, online, and at EWTN's Religious Catalog. You can also follow Edward on Twitter at Edward Pentin. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Raymond.